A very warm welcome to everyone who has joined us for this webinar session. This webinar is organized by Seeker Mentor. We are a platform that aims to provide quality mentorship and make it accessible and personalized for students and working professionals. My name is Sahil. I am Bangalore alumni and will be the host for today. So, in our last webinar, the Ultimate MBA Starter Kit, we received a lot of requests from all the participants to bring inside perspectives of different industries and sectors, and therefore we are going to conduct a webinar series in which we will call mentors from different sectors like product management, consulting, finance, civil services, engineering and technology, etc. And they will share their experiences, give you an inside perspective of how things work, and answer any questions you have. Our topic for today is product management, and let me just add the guest for today. Hi, Santosh. How are you doing?
Hey, hey Sahil, I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing good, Sarosh. Nice to meet you after a long time.
Same here, man. The whole lockdown got us away from office. Nice to see you again.
Yeah, same here. So, Sarosh, I was just giving the introduction to our first webinar session. And as we all know today, we are talking about product management sector today. And
Uh-huh.
what we have seen is, since the last few years, we have observed that many industries, the technology landscape is changing because of the rise of digitization. And, customers want more variety, quality, and personalization in the product offerings that we are providing. And as competition in every industry is increasing, customers have more and more options to choose. With this rise in competition, I think their companies are focusing more on creating products that stand out and satisfy customers. And for that, there has been a huge need for product managers across industries. And we have seen that this rise in product managers across industries also been in interest from different folks in joining management. And according to a report by the online hiring platform Hired, it was said that the highest paid jobs in Silicon Valley are in the product management field. So yeah, so we
It's
start
funny
this.
it's not translating to India.
Hopefully soon it will. So yeah, I think we'll sort of start off with our session today on product management, and everyone who has joined in. Our mentor with us here today is Mohammad Sarosh. Let me give a brief introduction about him. He's a senior product manager from Microsoft, and he's also a co-host of Product.fm podcast, and as well as an fellow IIM Bangalore alumni. And a quick fact for all of those watching, I met Sarosh exactly 1 year back, and we had given a product management at IIM Bangalore, and here we are today, 1 year down the line, trying to do the same thing. So yeah, welcome Sarosh, and thank you for taking out time to help us with this webinar.
Thank you so much for having me, Sahil. I think you guys are doing a great job with this whole initiative, and I'm happy to be here.
Thank you, Sarosh. So yeah, I think we'll start off with the discussion. We have structured the webinar into 4 parts. The first part is talking about what exactly is the role of a PM, product manager, and then we will move on to talk about more of Sarosh's experiences and his learnings in his career. And after that, we'll talk about what is the recruiter's perspective when they're hiring product managers. So we will touch upon these 4 major sections, and we have questions for each of these sections. So, folks, we have tried to collate all the questions that you have us and added more questions to make this entire session as complete and comprehensible as possible. And what we'll try to do is we'll keep these 4 sections and have the conversation with Sarosh for around 45 minutes, and then we will sort of make the forum open for any Q&A at the end. So hopefully we answer all your questions in the 45 minutes, but in case other questions, we can after all the 4 topics have been touched upon. So yeah, Let us start off with our first topic, and I'll start off with the most basic question, Sarosh. What exactly is product management, and what role does a PM play?
All right. So before I start talking, I hope my audio is okay. Audio check fine. Yeah. I do
Yes,
have a slightly bad internet, so I might go off here and there. I'm trying to like connect to a different 4G as well. So hopefully that works. Yeah. Thanks for everyone who's joining in. I see there are quite a few people. I recognize a few faces, few new faces. Thanks everyone for coming in. All right. So the first question you asked is, what is product management and what's the role of a PM, right?
yes,
All right. Cool. So I think the first thing about product management, it's a very fluid role. It's a role that has cut across a lot of different industries. Typically, when you and I talk about product management, we're talking about the tech industry, but product management really goes across. Like you even have it in manufacturing, and even in tech, you have IT services has a product manager. IT tech product has a different kind of a product manager. So I think all of them have different definitions of what a product manager should do. But at the crux of it all, if I had to give like a very simple one-line definition, a PM's role is basically like your responsibility as a PM is to ensure that you get your team to build a great product, and that's about it. It doesn't matter whether you're in manufacturing or whether you're in tech or anything. And like the two key things I want to call attention to in this statement is you are ensuring your team builds a product, right? So it's not that a product manager works alone. In fact, a product manager never works alone. You're always working with a team of people, whether it's developers or researchers or UX designers, whoever they are. And therefore, your job is to make sure that they are building and you are sort of giving direction. And the second part of that statement is you are making sure that they're building a great product, and which really means that although it sounds trivial, that like defining what a great product is, but there's so much more to what really a great product is. And as a PM, you want to be sure that you've given a clear visibility of what that goal is, and defining that great product, whether it's about identifying the right success metrics or making sure that the product is aligning with the company's vision. There's a lot of work that goes into setting that, calling out what that great product is. So in some sense, you're doing both strategy, you're figuring out where you want to go, and then you're also helping in execution, which is you're taking your team together, making sure all of them are working with you and building that great product. So I think that's one line definition. You'd also see a lot of definitions floating around. I think the most popular one is a PM is the CEO of a product, which I keep quoting that, but I don't like saying that for a couple of reasons, mainly because like, while it does capture the essence of the work you do, like you do a lot of things, you do everything that's needed to be to take the product, make the product great, but you don't have the reporting authority, which a CEO has. Like nobody's reporting into you, and you can't direct people to do things. Instead, it's harder in a sense because you have to influence them. So I think it works. The definition works, but it's without the reporting authority of a CEO. And I think the second part of your question was, what role does a PM play? I think I'll scope this down to tech industry, to our kind of sphere. And I think the role we play is critical right from before the product is, it's a little idea on a single page all the way to where it is a mature product that's out there in the market. A PM is the one which is there through the entire phase, right? You do the research and planning, you do the designing, you do the implementation, and then you do the shipping and learning. And then it's a cyclical process. I think companies like Microsoft, Google, Amazon, they all build software as a service. It's a cyclical, agile process. So you just build, ship, learn, build, ship, learn. You do that. So I think that's how I see a PM playing a role in the company.
right, Sarosh. So yeah, from understand it's actually quite domain which PM caters to, show a lot of parts. So moving on, what would you say are the skill sets required for a PM? Yeah.
Yeah, so I think there's one popular way of visualizing a PM. I think a lot of our viewers would have also seen it if you're interested in PM. I think if you just Google what does a PM do, you see these three circles of business, technology, and design. And they say the PM lies at the center of it, and there's also like customer somewhere drawn in between there. So I think that's what you bring to the table, right? You bring an understanding of business, you bring an understanding of technology, you bring an understanding of design, and then you are the representation of the customer inside the engineering team, and that's basically why you have a seat on the decision making table. So from a skill set point of view, I think, but these are things that you can learn on the job, right? Once you're in the job, you can always learn how do I make a marketing plan? How do I make a business plan? How do I understand human-centered design and things like that? These can always be learned. But if I look for very innate skills that makes a PM a really good PM, I think those are more on the lines of Um, I think one thing that we really look for, and I'm actually going back to how we interview PMs and what are we looking for PMs when we interview them, is the number one thing we look for is problem solving skills. A PM is essentially solving a real world problem that customers are facing with a technology solution. So if you don't understand what the real world problem is, if you can't navigate through the ambiguity that the problem has, you're going to have a tough time. So if you display good problem solving skills, you're a good fit to be a PM. The second thing, of course, is customer obsession. I think there's something which is like buzzword, everybody's talking about it. So if you have that ability to think about the customer at every stage of product development, then you're going to make a good PM. And I think the third thing, which is very important, which separates the great from the good PMs, is the ability to think in frameworks and have a structured thinking. What that really means is because you're dealing with a lot of ambiguity, you need a defined framework of thinking, and to basically help you in making better decisions. And if you can do that, then you will be a good PM, basically.
Right. So that actually very well captures, what all are the skill sets required for a PM, starting from, just identifying the problem and then having that structured thought process on how you break it down into solutions and get that ready product to customers. So now, Sarosh, we all PMs work for different companies. Mostly, if we talk about the tech industry, say Microsoft, Google, Amazon, etc., and we all own a small part of the product. For example, in Microsoft, you would be owning working on a product, and in that, say, you might be working on some feature. So we want to know what exactly is, how do you develop the product roadmap? Can you like walk us through the process on how does one develop the product roadmap?
All right. So before I take that question, I just noticed a couple of comments. There were a couple of questions. I'm just going to take 10 seconds to talk about them. Hiren has a question on is PM part of every team starting from design to delivery? Absolutely, yes. In fact, I would say it's before design. It's you start from inception, right from when your product is an idea on a piece of paper. You start from then and take it all the way to delivery. And Jayesh has a question on the tech angle to it, I think, which we should cover as a separate question. All right. So having said that, we'll go to the question you asked was how do you build a product roadmap, right? Okay, so I'll go beyond a product roadmap. I'll talk about how does a PM think and take a product from idea to shipping. So you start off basically, there are four typical phases, and I think I'm trying to come from this book by Gail Lackman. She's written this book called Cracking the PM Interview, a personal favorite of mine. I really recommend that book. So she clearly calls out there are four stages in a PMing process, irrespective of which company, industry you work for. The first phase is the research and planning phase, right? This is where you get your idea and you start researching to understand if this idea is even viable. So you're doing a lot of customer research, you're doing a lot of market research, compete research, you're doing a lot of your own company's understanding, figuring out the strategy of your company, the vision, seeing how do you align your product towards it. There's a lot of background research and planning that goes into. That's the first set of work that you do. The second stage that you get into is the design. So once you've figured the alignment with the company vision, probably with an OKR or any other framework that you're using, the second step is really to make sure you're designing the product the right way. And again, here you do a lot more research on the customer. You figure out the target segment, what are the pain points, what are the pain points that you want to build for, what are your hypotheses, and then go about engaging with UX and engineers to come up with the design for the product. And then the third phase is when you start actually building it. So your UX starts building mocks, engineering starts building prototypes, and depending on how agile you are, they're going to be working parallelly or whatever. And this is where you play sort of the role of a project manager in some sense, where you make sure that you are meeting timelines, you are not, you're getting out to market as soon as you can. And then, of course, there's the fourth phase, which is you finally ship. And then I think personally, I feel the most critical phase of product management is this. Although, like most people think your job's done, it's you've shipped it, but no, you ship and then you learn. You've got, like, we're living in the world of analytics. You want to learn. You want to see if your hypotheses were right or not, and then you fix things, and then you go back and your next cycle starts. So I think that's like a broad way of how you approach product building. Building a product roadmap itself is, I think, a small part of it, which is where you define the MVP and all of that. And I think we can talk about that later. But I think this is how you approach product building at a holistic level.
Right. So as I think the viewers must have had a better understanding now on how PMing involves. From the first stage, you said, defining the problem, researching what the customer needs, to the entire process, building it, designing it and shipping it, and then also learning post shipping that how the product is performing, and what we did right, what can we improve further as subsequent development on that product. So actually, it sounds like a really interesting field to be in, and for folks who are there on the call, who are thinking of delving into this domain, it's a really interesting domain. I have been working in it for a year now, and it has helped. It sort of exercises the gray cells of your brain. A lot of thinking, a lot of planning, a lot of teamwork which goes into it. So yeah, I think then we'll move on to the next question. Is that a lot of folks get confused regarding the terminology a lot of companies use. There are roles program management. There are roles called product marketing manager. And there are roles called product manager. So how are these roles different?
Yeah, great question. I think a big source of confusion, especially in Microsoft as well. If you go to my LinkedIn, my title says Senior Program Manager, although a program manager at Microsoft does exactly what a product manager does everywhere else. So yeah, I think there are quite a few different roles. I think one is program manager, one is project manager. Then you have technical program manager. I think Amazon popularized that role. And of course, we have the product manager, the good old product manager. So I think a few differences I'll call out basically between project and product. I think the program, PPM, those are all kind of project manager roles. But the basic difference between a project manager and a product manager is that a project manager really focuses on getting a team to deliver the output, adhering to a timeline and a certain budget and resources and all of that, right? And it's all of project management, making sure you're not slipping on timelines. You've divided the work into the right releases, and those releases are broken down into trackable milestones, and then communicating with the client the progress of the project and making sure you're not slipping. So a project manager's work is more around execution, whereas a product manager's work is I would actually say project management is a part of product management. I was recently part of this conference where this exact same question was tabled, and we had like industry experts talk about it. And one expert actually told that a product manager makes project management, program management irrelevant. Like if you have a really good product manager, and if you invest in building a team of product managers, you don't need program and project anymore. So product manager goes beyond just execution. You are also taking care of the strategy and figuring out what needs to be built along with how it needs to be built. A program manager in a typical company, non-Microsoft, basically you're looking after large programs, not necessarily products that end customers use. It could be an internal program that the company has. Project, like I said, is more of execution. A TPM role focuses more on translating requirements of a product manager into engineering requirements. Think of it as another liaison in between product and engineering. But again, I think depending on companies, some of them have, some of them don't. But typically what happens is a product manager role does overlap with these roles quite a bit. And the lines have not been drawn clearly. In one company, you could be doing a lot of project management. In another company, you could be doing a lot of, leadership role. In some company, you could be doing a lot of working with the devs and doing a lot of like dev kind of a role. So I think different companies choose to define it differently. But at the crux of it, I think product manager is, like I said, just going back to what I said, you are basically doing what it takes to make sure your team builds the best product.
Right. So from I think what we understand, a lot of subsets combined to form this superset called product management, where project management is one part, strategy is one part, the development, execution, analytics, all of these has one PM. And so we talked about different roles. But say for a product manager who's working say on a feature or a product company, who are the people they have to liaison with? Like, in the process of building the product, what are the different teams or who are the different people one has to liaison with?
So I think at the very nature of it, a product manager's role is very collaborative. I think by far in a tech company, for all the roles that you have, I think the product manager is the one who talks to the most number of different people. I'm just going to tell you who I've worked with in the last 6 months. And I think that should give you a good idea of the scale of people we work with. Your first level of counterparts is obviously the engineers, right? They are I think you spend close to half your time just working with engineers. They are in some sense like your closest collaborators because they're the ones who are going to build the product. So that's the engineering team is one, the developers themselves. The second, I think that I personally spend a lot of time working with is the UX designers, because I work on a product which is used by end customers, has a very has a UX angle to it that needs to be really dealt with very well. So I work with a lot of UX designers. The third set of people I work with are researchers. So these are people who go out in the market and actually do customer research in super scientific manners. Love that field personally. I think really important for a PM to work with them. And so that's the third set. I think another set of people we work with would be, so these typically fall under the engineering org. Yeah, the fourth set would be data science people. Depending on what state of the project you are on, if you are delving into a lot of analytics, if you're running a lot of experiments, then you would be working with data science experts to make sure that you're doing the experiments the right way. So these are all part of the engineering org. Typically in Microsoft, Google, even Facebook and all, they put all these four disciplines into engineering. Beyond engineering, you start interacting with sales. If you're working on a B2B product, you would be working with key account managers, solution architects, partners, the whole sales field. And basically, they are the front line with the customers, right? So you get a lot of insights about the customer from them. So you work with them, you work with marketing. Marketing, your GTM plan is basically executed by them. So you want to make sure that the strategy you're setting and the strategy that they're setting up and executing from a marketing standpoint, they basically align, because you don't want to be building a product for someone and then marketing does something else. So you work a lot with them. You work with a lot of like smaller horizontals, like say a localization, the folks who basically do the translation services of your product. You work with legal. I worked with CILA. Internally, we've got CILA, GDPR folks, basically making sure you are not flouting any legal norms because you're working on global products. There are data rights, data and privacy rights are a big thing today. So you want to make sure you're working fine there. Let's see who else you work with. You work with support. If you are working on a big product which has multi-million users, so you're going to expect a lot of support calls coming in. Again, support is a great first line between customers and you, so you get a lot of insights from them. Yeah, I think these are some of the orgs you work with, but it's in a sense, I think this is just shaped from my past. You will be working with whoever it takes. You need to work with. Think of it as an entrepreneur, right? You will work with, probably in some cases you will work with the government or external stakeholders, maybe partners, maybe MVPs outside or influencers in the tech sphere. So yeah, you have to work with everyone it takes. I think I'm not sure if that really helps as an answer, but just give a few examples of who you work with.
No, I think that perfectly encapsulates.
Yeah.
And a very good answer you brought up was it's somewhat like the life of an entrepreneur, that you have to from scratch, as you said, research, design, engineering, legal, sales, etc. And as an entrepreneur, if you're building something of your own, you have to also, work with all these stakeholders. And similarly for a product, and for companies, for the larger companies where users, they have one will sort of realize what are the nuances and details which a PM has to sort of close on with all of these collaborators in order to ensure the perfect product goes out. So yeah, I think that it's the role of a PM well, and we sort of covered the first of the four sections we were planning to talk about today, and then we sort of now move on to you, Sarosh, and a lot of more to learn more about your experiences and your time. So can you tell us a bit about your journey as a product manager, and how did you decide that you wanted to get into this field?
Yeah, as Charu has a comment saying our voice is not audible. Charu, is it Sahil's voice or mine? Because I feel like Sahil's voice is breaking as well, but I don't know if it's on his side or mine. We'll see if Charu responds. But Sahil, is my voice clear on your side?
Yeah, your voice is clear, Sarosh. I don't know if I should repeat the question.
No, I heard you. I heard you fine.
Cool.
Okay, I heard you fine. So it's fine. I think it was breaking up a bit in between. All right. So the question was, how did I get into Microsoft? Was the question, right? I'm sorry, I lost that a bit.
Yeah, how has your journey been, in Microsoft? I think post your MBA, you've been working with Microsoft for now. So how has your journey been, and how did you decide that you wanted to get into this?
Right. So my background is basically I'm an engineer. I'm a computer science engineer. I worked at Cisco as a developer, mainly on the full stack of Cisco's CDN products. Then I made the switch. I went to an MBA and I came back. So I think when I got into my MBA, it was very clear I wanted to be a product manager. I was always interested with tech. I always knew I'm going to work on tech. I honestly believe tech is the biggest disruptor of the 21st century. The last century it was manufacturing. This century and the next it's going to be tech. So I knew this is the space I wanted to be in, and I wanted to play a bigger role than just looking at the engineering side of things. Like the questions that I was that made me think were all about how do you build a business around tech and how do you build great products for customers. Those were the things that really intrigued me, and which is why I got into PMing. So I think once I got into my MBA, I was very clear I wanted to be a PM. I interned at Microsoft. My summer internship was there. I got a PPO. I joined Microsoft after that. And since then, I've had a great journey. I've had the I would say it's a real privilege that I got to work on two excellent products. One of the key things when a PM is you want to get a good product, right? So you expand the breadth of your knowledge. You can actually play to your strengths. I got two very good products. The first product was the Groups platform, the platform which powers all of your O365 services. And the second one, which is like the one I'm working on right now, is the Outlook on the mobile browser, which has like multi-million daily users. And we have both the consumer, the free email experience, and the enterprise email experience. So great challenges I've got. It's been a real. I would say that I've worked on teams that have functioned like startups. The team I have right now, it's about like 30 odd people. We have like multi-million users, like I said. It feels like it's a startup. I come in every day knowing that the decisions I'm taking are going to impact millions of customers. So yeah, that's what keeps me up.
Yeah, it sounds really interesting.
And a really, for me, last year in Microsoft.
And so how does the day,
In your work life look like? For example, what do you do after you go to office? How does a day look like?
Yeah, I think a typical day. So obviously, the start of the day, I try to get in a little early in the morning just to catch up on emails that have flown in over the night. And basically there's a lot of decision making that happens over email. So I want to try and make sure I do that before I get into the nitty gritties of the day. And most of the day really is spent. It really depends on what kind of products and what stages of the life cycle the products are in. So if you're working on a product that is in the inception stage, I will actually do a lot of brainstorming with the required stakeholders. If I have a product which is in the execution phase, I will be part of a running sprint. So I will be joining the stand-up calls. I'll be making sure the developers, the designers are not blocked or anything. And my priority at that point is to get them unblocked and get them working. If I am working on a product that has already been shipped, then I would be doing a lot of I'd be spending some time looking into the analytics of the product, seeing how it's faring, pull up some dashboards, see if I can, get some insights from the numbers. And if there are like other key activities that need to be performed, if there's like a leadership meeting coming up very soon, I'm probably working on, putting together a plan so I can get a buy-in from the leadership. Or if there's like a partner meeting coming up, I'm trying to put together a plan for that. So a typical day again varies. And also usually you're working on multiple products at the same time. It's very rare that as a PM you're working on just one thing. So I'll actually be juggling between a few of these.
Right. I think there was one question we can quickly touch upon is how has the lockdown affected your work schedule?
Yeah. Shout out to Sai. She's an amazing designer. She's a designer on my team. So the question, I think we've discussed this quite a bit. So I think the biggest thing that lockdown has done is it's forced us to rethink collaboration. When we were in office, I would just walk and grab a couple of people and just take them to the meeting room and be like, okay, let's figure this out and start whiteboarding things and get decisions done. Now you don't have the luxury of doing that. You need to do it virtually. So obviously in the beginning it was really hard. I think getting decisions made, right? Driving that clarity, alignment was a little hard in the beginning. Now folks have kind of like figured out how to work in this environment. Obviously we're spending a lot of time on Teams, a lot of time video conferencing. The biggest challenge for me is just that, like, how do you get decision making done now in this new phase? And probably as a side note, obviously the fact that you're not seeing your colleagues, you're missing out on that personal touch. You're not getting that human touch. You're missing out on that pulse. That's been the biggest challenge for me working in the lockdown, and I hope it ends really soon. Honestly.
Yeah, but I think if that change in lifestyle and not let the work
affect our productivity. So thanks for the question, Sai.
Moving on, I wanted
to talk about the career path for a PM,
right? Like,
what does career trajectory
in an organization for a PM look like? And as the PM grows in their roles, what does the new responsibilities one can expect? So yeah.
So I think great question actually. Firstly, so product manager is actually an entry level role in an engineering in a tech company. You have to spend a lot of time convincing your friends and family that you're not really a manager. You don't have people reporting to you. That you're actually just like managing a product. But there's a very well defined roadmap, a career roadmap for most companies in most companies for PMs. I think that when you start off, you typically get a smaller area of ownership. You get a feature to work on, and as you grow, you grow in levels. You become a senior PM and a principal PM. Your area of ownership and your area of impact really changes. I think that's how the corporate world works. You grow up the ladder as your impact to the company grows. So I think the same applies to PMs as well. As you get more ownership and you influence larger spheres of other PMs' work as well, and you start taking up ownership of more products as well, you grow upwards. At a certain point, there's the engineering roles all combined. At least I can speak of Microsoft is at a CVP level. You start to like converge engineering, and then sales and marketing also start converging. So I think beyond that, there's a single path. And one of the things I feel is really good about PMing is that a PM grooms you to be great leaders later on. Because you can imagine, because as an entry level PM, you're already getting the exposure to the 360 degree, the whole 360 view of building products. And then when you get to a CVP role, you already have some sort of a head start, as opposed to someone who grew straight away from engineering or let's say UX. So I think it's a great way to grow fast in a tech company. Satya used to be a PM. I'm not sure about the other companies, but yeah, PMs give you a great opportunity to grow really fast. So yeah, that's the trajectory that most companies have.
Right.
So that's actually really insightful trajectory
On one's career path
in
PMing, and I think we've
sort of covered on the second aspect of it to get to know more about your experiences and your journey. Now we get to a lot of those questions which have been
on the minds of
the young people who are joining their school
and who are trying to start their careers is how can one prepare for a PMing role?
And guys, I see there are a couple of questions coming in.
We'll
try to wrap up with our set of questions which we have, which we've got from. Then we'll try to take some time in the end. So if the questions are not answered in these questions which we have in store for you, we'll
keep it open for the
last 10 minutes and we can address those then. So yeah. So coming to this preparation bit, Saroj, first of all, the
main question which comes to mind is
why should one join a product management role? There are a lot of different.
Be it after MBA, there are so many streams one can choose from, right? So why should one join a product management role per se?
Okay, so this question is for an MBA student, right?
Yeah,
we can talk about with respect to an MBA student. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so I think the number one reason why you should be joining product management is if you're passionate about tech. Like I said before, I strongly believe tech is the biggest disruptor today and for a long time to come. If you are passionate about tech and like real world problem solving, then you should be doing PMing. One of the reasons that I think more and more MBA students should be joining PMing is because I think it's one of those fields that give you that latch on to a lot of things that you've learned from MBA and allow you to exercise all of that knowledge. Like I said, when you're working as a PM, you have to work on a lot of different dimensions of businesses. So you do tap into knowledge of marketing, your knowledge of competition and strategy, even like obscure subjects that you've learned in HR. Get directly applied on your job. So I think just going back to answering the question itself, if you believe that tech is the vehicle through which you're going to cause disruption, and you really want to create impact, right? If you want to work on something that is going to be used by a lot of people, you're actually changing a lot of people's lives through tech. And if these two things are something that you're passionate about, of course, like you said, if Silicon Valley is probably paying PMs a lot, so if you're passionate about making money, then I guess it's also works out. So I think if these 2-3 things are something that you really like, then I think you should be PMs. And typically for MBA students, I really think that it's a great career opportunity because you're learning so many things that you can exercise on job. You just have to like mix that all up with passion for tech, and then you're good to be a PM.
Yeah,
so I think that answers the question on why should I
take up
product management. But I think Saroj, we've seen I think during
our
last visit to campus as well, that the response or the interest towards PMing has just sort of exploded in the last few years, right?
And
And so a lot of people ask us, um, do you
need
need
a
a degree
degree in
in
software
software
engineering,
engineering,
or
or
do
do
you
you
need
need
to
to
have
have
relevant work
work experience in IT
experience to become
a good
PM or
or a successful PM?
PM? And
What suggestion would you have for such folks who are not belonging to the a tech education or a tech experience,
work experience, but
but want to enter into the PM field?
Yeah, great question. I think the number one asked question. I think somebody in the comments also asked this question, so good that you covered this. So I've written an article on this actually. I've written about how can an MBA student enter the world of PMing at big tech companies. And basically, what I say is that if you are I draw this analogy with scuba diving, right? If you don't know how to swim, you can still do scuba diving. But if you know how to swim, you're going to have a nice experience while scuba diving. So I think the same thing applies here. Having a knowledge of tech always helps. I will be like pretty clear about this. I think there's no two ways. It's just like any other industry as well, right? Always having the domain expertise gives you an extra edge. So if you understand how tech products work, if you understand the engineering angle of it, it always helps. Having said that, I can talk from a personal experience. In the last 3.5 years, I have not written a single line of code. In fact, I haven't even had to, like do SQL queries to fetch data. I haven't done that. So you don't really need to code on job, and therefore you don't really need that software engineering degree in that sense. But what you do need is you need to have that enough knowledge that can allow you to talk and collaborate effectively with engineers, and for that matter, with designers as well. And like the engineering part is one, right? So on the design side, you have things like, I don't know, human-centered design, design thinking, all of that. So if you know all of these things, you can collaborate effectively with your stakeholders. And therefore, to that extent, it helps to know software engineering. But beyond that, I don't think a degree is necessary. We are constantly hiring from outside the traditional space. Like last week, we had a PM join who actually has a degree in design. So yeah, we're more open to hiring different kind of PMs, just like how we value diversity in an MBA. I think we're starting to value diversity in PMing as well. The last thing you want to do is surround yourself with similar thinking PMs. So software engineering, not necessary, but if you do know it, it's always great. And you should all you need is really a passion for technology. That's what's more important.
Right. And yeah, I think just to add to your point, Sarush, is that even if someone does not have that relevant education
or experience
can
can
always be, built through the
be
on-the-job learning and on-the-job training as well. So the experience
experiences just a little bit of
extra effort, I think, can sort of, nullify if there is no prior experience or prior education. So yeah, I think coming to our, I think next question, which a lot of folks asked us was, is MBA
really necessary for PMing? Can people from non-MBA backgrounds
also, enter the PMing world?
Yeah, so I think the truth is that you don't need an MBA. I honestly feel like you don't need an MBA for anything. You can do any job without an MBA. I think the value that the MBA brings is in terms of the network that you build and the opportunities you get. But like the knowledge you gain in an MBA, unlike like an engineering degree, it's all stuff you can learn online anyway. Anyway, there's a different school of thought which says you don't even need a degree. But all that aside, I think PMs have come from various backgrounds. It's just that having an MBA gives you a slight edge because in an MBA, you've got that generalist approach and it's built into you, which you expect from a PM. I think if you can ask a similar question, which is like, do you need an MBA to be an entrepreneur? And I think most often you say no. I think the similar kind of thing applies to PM as well. So definitely don't think an MBA is mandatory to be a PM. But if you do have one, I think you definitely get a bit of a head start.
Right. So yeah, I think for all those folks who are not from the MBA background as well, good news to you guys. I think anyone you can actually try and become a PM. It's only about your determination, your interest. And Sarosh, so moving forward, we have seen that this COVID situation has sort of given a lot of folks a lot of extra free time. And for those folks who want to enter this industry, they wanted to know how can they utilize this time to learn the relevant skill set, build their profile, and what are the books, resources, courses you suggest for them to build this skill set and for the product management role?
Yeah, I think because product management is such a nascent role, I think there's a lot of stuff on the internet that you can consume. A lot of people talking about their journey, and that really helps. I personally, what I do is I do try to read quite a few books on product management. I think because product management is not a science, right? There's no like a specific course that you take. Even back in MBA, we didn't have courses on product management. I know that's changed now, but it's not like you study a course and you become a great product manager. You always it's more of a learning. You look up case studies. You look at how successful tech people have actually built great products, and you'll try to learn from those experiences. I think reading books is definitely the first thing you should do. There are a lot of great entry-level books. One of my personal favorite is Cracking the PM Interview, a book written by Gail McDowell. There's also another book I highly recommend is Crossing the Chasm by Jeffrey Moore, the Product Manager's Playbook. And then, of course, there are lots of books which go like deeper into parts of the discipline or, in general about like thinking. One of my favorites, again, is Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman. So, yeah, lots of books. I think you can look up a lot of lists. You'll find that. The other set of resources I follow is recently I've started listening to a lot of podcasts. That's another sphere where I create knowledge. I think a couple of podcasts I follow. Of course, the Joe Rogan is the everyone's watching that nowadays. He gets a lot of great guests from the tech sphere. Lex Friedman is another podcast I watch. He has a lot of great content on tech influencers who keep coming onto his show. Another podcast, I think Jack Dorsey, the Twitter CEO, he has a great podcast. So these are a few podcasts I've been following. And then again, a lot of blogs. Medium has a great product management topic. I follow the Black Box of Product Management. That's another great blog. Then I think A16Z, Andreessen Horowitz's blog. I think there's more of like businesses and strategy. So that is something that I follow. So a lot of great material on the internet. And because this is all, like I said, it's all learning based, right? You got to listen into experiences of the other folks. So there's a lot of content on the internet that you would want to subscribe to. Personally, I'm not a big fan of courses. I know there are a lot of courses going around on product management. I have not subscribed to any of them, so I can't really comment on them, but I stay away from them generally because they're all very like short-term 1 month, 2 month courses. And I don't think you can be a good PM by just taking a 2 month course. You would rather learn a lot more if you read a case study about how somebody went about building a product. So yeah, those would be my suggestions.
Right. And yeah, so I think, very good point you brought up on the case study, and that will sort of help us move into the fourth segment of this conversation, Sarosh, the recruitment process. And we'll take the next 10 minutes to talk about this. And the one question we wanted to ask is, can you throw some light on what is a PM case and how does a PM case interview go about, and how can one prepare for that?
Right. PM case interviews are very popular. I think a lot of companies are using the case format of interviews now. I think very similar to how consulting interviews are conducted. I have personally been on the recruiting team quite a lot, so yeah, I can probably give a few insights. So there are a few different kinds of case interviews that we ask. I think one kind of question we ask is a metrics or estimation question. This is typically a question where you check your guesstimates. The kind of questions where you get asked, how many trees are there in Bangalore? How many ATMs do you need? Those kind of questions where you check guesstimates. There's also a different twist of this is asking for metrics, like basically understanding if you know success metrics, like how do you define success for a product, and if something is going on, what are you going to go and measure? Like I think a typical question you get asked is can you come up with a single metric to define success for a delivery platform? Then another kind of case interview questions you get asked is product design. I think the most common set of questions. Under product design, also there are two kinds of cases where one is where you're asked to build a new product completely. Someone can ask you build a Musical.ly kind of an app for a certain market. Another question that can be asked in this bucket is taking an existing product and giving them a twist in terms of the customer segment. A very common question asked is design an alarm clock for the blind. Design Uber for kids, these kind of questions. So you take an existing product and we're just trying to force a new kind of a customer segment just to see if you can think from that customer's point of view. So that's under product design. You can also get asked questions on product strategy. Questions like what should Instagram do next if it wants to launch a tailored service for India, for example. So strategic questions are more, at a high level, you need to talk about what are the mega trends going on in the industry and how do you latch onto that. Another question you can get asked under product strategy is around acquisitions. like a question to just like check why is Facebook entering into the retail space. So these are more like business questions though. So that's another set of questions you can get asked. And yeah, I think this covers so product design, product strategy. You could have metrics and estimation. And then I think general, like smaller problem solving questions, like you could be given a puzzle, not a very abstract puzzle, but smaller, very scoped questions that just test your reasoning and logical thinking. I think these cover 90% of the questions you get asked in any sort of a PM interview.
That's actually wonderful, Sarosh, and thanks for consolidating all of the possible questions one can ask on a PM interview. Talking about the recruitment, the second half of recruitment is your resume, and people wanted to know how can you make your resume stronger to show that you are you're interested in product management and as a probable future career. So what are the tips you can give to students who want to how to build that strong, robust resume which sort of shouts out that I'm interested in product management?
Yeah, I think in general, from a resume point of view, what I'm looking at when we're looking to screen product managers is of course, like having some sort of experience working on tech helps, right? The reality is that if you worked on tech, we were likely to like screen you quickly. If you've done that, great. If you haven't, there's still other ways you can do. One of the things you can do is if you can show that you've worked on impactful projects, right? And I think in general, it's a good practice to frame your resume points in a way that it's impact oriented as opposed to ownership oriented. Like instead of saying I led a team of 10 people, you want to say that my team did this. So more impact oriented it is, the more likely you are to land a PM screening. The other thing you can do is if you can show that you've worked with different kinds of disciplines, right? If you were on a role that had a lot of cross-functional, cross-discipline requirements, like let's say you work with finance, sales, marketing, that makes you better suited to be a PM. I think the third thing you can do is really important, something that increasingly a lot of companies are looking for, is any sort of entrepreneurial experience. Even if it was not successful, even if it was a pilot that you launched in your friends and family, that's okay. I think if you can just put that down and show that you've had some sort of entrepreneurial experience, that can add a lot of value to your resume towards landing a PM role.
Right. That's actually great, Sarosh, and we've talked about both the resumes and the interview, and that sort of sums up about the recruitment process which one has to go for a PM role, and that sort of brings us to a close of all the questions we had prepared. And I just sort of asked a couple of questions which were sent in by the users to the registration forms. One question which sort of came out was, can you explain the difference between a B2B PMing versus B2C PMing? There are some firms which make products for business to businesses, and some firms make products for consumers. How are the two roles different?
Yeah, this is actually a question that I ask in my interviews to PMs who come in from a very strong B2B or B2C background. I think the key difference is, so most of the principles of product management stay the same. So none of that actually change. The key difference that you have to note is the fact that when you're building products for B2B, the way you analyze customers is slightly different from B2C. In B2C products, it's a lot harder to build how should I put it? Should I say the ideal user or the user archetypes? It's a little harder to construct them in the B2C space. Whereas in B2B, you have a much better, I wouldn't say it's a lot, I wouldn't say it's easy. It's still hard in B2B as well. In B2B, it's a lot more well-defined. Like, when you talk about admins or the information worker, those are very well-defined customer types. Whereas in the consumer space, you have to spend a lot of time doing a lot of research and building those user personas. So that's one thing which makes B2C a little harder or different, I would say rather, than B2B. The other thing in B2B though is, in B2B, there's a clear interaction that you need to have with sales, okay? So the way B2B sales is done is different from B2C sales. B2C is more done through marketing, whereas in B2B, you have a very well-established sales channel. So you'll be working a lot more with the sales folks. You will be working a lot more in evangelizing your product in conferences and the places where all the businesses meet up, basically whatever conclaves and all. So the way you do GTM slightly changes in B2B. And eventually, I think in B2B, the requirements are a lot more, I I think I can actually talk about the way if I show you my B2C roadmap and my B2B roadmap, like the product I'm working on has both consumer and business angle. You will see that the consumer roadmap, which has come in from customer asks, is all over the place. Like there are people asking for something random, like they want the buttons here, they want features there. Whereas the B2B roadmap, like in terms of what the customers are asking, is is a lot streamlined. Like the customers themselves are doing half the job for you in terms of like what they want. So yeah, so that is probably like these are the key differences between B2B and B2C PMing.
Right. So, and one more question, with respect to differences is, person asked, how is product management different from tech consulting? So there are two different roles, consulting and product management, and
Yeah.
we wanted to know what the difference between the two.
Yeah, I think the biggest difference between consulting in general and PMing is in PMing, you have to stay back to see your plan get executed, which you don't have to do in consulting. So I think, yeah, just the jibes that consultants aside, I think tech consulting is typically done at for different kinds of projects. Let me put it this way: it is very rare that you will find PMing being outsourced to a different company. You can find engineering being outsourced. You can even find UX designing being outsourced. But PMing in a core tech product company will never be outsourced outside, simply because the PMs are the ones who set the core strategy, and you can't expect someone to come in and in 3 months tell you what needs to be done. Having said that, you will have tech consulting who are helping you out with certain kinds of projects, and I think a lot of this actually happens in the B2B space. Like if you're trying to build an ERP solution or a CRM solution, there are people out there in the industry who have done that over and over again, right? And they can bring a lot of expertise from their side into telling you what goes into building a CRM for a particular industry or an ERP for a particular industry. So I think tech consulting, it's really focused on B2B. B, you get to like put together a plan, and of course you can leave, but a PM can't. And I think C, overall, I think I see it's a lot more common in also the services industry, although yeah, it is there in B2B products as well. But product management is more of a role which you see evolving in product companies only and not in services.
Right. So that's actually a very clear distinction, laid out for the two roles, which probably might confuse some of the folks. And I think we will open it up to the folks who are live. In case anyone has any questions related to the webinar today, please feel free to sort of just write it down, and we'll try to address it. We still have a few minutes in hand. In case your question was not touched upon in the course of last 15 minutes. Okay, so Somava has asked, what is the difference between product manager and product owner?
Yeah, so I think product owner it's a concept that comes from the Scrum world, right? The agile Scrum world.
Right.
And yeah, a product owner typically in the agile model of development is a person who runs the Scrum, takes care of writing the user stories, and then having those translated into like features and all. Whereas a product manager, but a product owner is still very much a part of the development team. He's still expected to be an engineer. And is also doubling up as someone who owns the product and works on it. Whereas a product manager, like I said, it goes beyond just development and engineering. You are working a lot with UX, research, marketing, sales, etc. So that's how a product owner is different from a product manager.
Right. So I hope that answers your question, Samava. I think there are no more questions. We've tried to cover all aspects, and so yeah, Sarosh, thank you so much. Any final thoughts you have for the viewers, the people who will be viewing this at a later point of time also? Any final, parting words?
Yeah, firstly, thanks for having this. I hope this was helpful for the folks who joined in. Feel free to drop in your questions later on as well. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn or Instagram. I'm active on both places. Yeah, I think this is just another attempt at demystifying the whole product management role. I can honestly talk about the fact that it's a really satisfying role. It's really good from a point of view of problem solving and making impact in the tech space. It's a really fun job, and I think I'm glad to see that people are warming up more to this role, especially in the MBA world. And yeah, so that's about it, I guess. Like, reach out if you have any more questions.
Thank you, Sarosh, for taking out time and giving us a good picture of the entire product management world. And thank you again. We at Seeker Mentor, we'll be bringing more such webinars with covering different sectors in our upcoming week, from consulting to marketing to services to engineering and tech. And I hope all these folks follow us on LinkedIn, Instagram to stay tuned to what are the next upcoming events. And thanks again, Sarosh, and yeah, see you soon.
Thank you so much. Thanks everyone for joining in.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you all, Mentor. Bye.